So hello guys, today we are going to do a video, as always, Actually, I kind of regret saying that because it's obvious and now I look like a dummy. Oh wait, but I already did, so I should probably shut up. Quick warning, this video might be disturbing to some viewers. We're talking about a really touchy subject here. If you don't, if you're sensitive, then you should probably click away. But if you're sensitive, then why are you still on my channel? Because, like, have you seen all my videos? Yeah. So, if you could tell by the title, today we're going to be talking about dementia. Because I wanted to do this idea for quite a while now. There will be 3 points to this. Or 3 parts to this. Number 1 is me explaining what it is. And how it affects people. And their family members. Number 2 is, some media covering this subject, and number 3 is just my thoughts. Anyways, without any further ado, let's get into this video. Part 1: defining Alzheimer's disease, explaining it, and how it affects people. Now, what is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is a progressive mental deterioration that can occur in the middle or old age due to generalized aggression of the brain. It is the most common cause of premature senility. Alzheimer's disease affects the state of a person. If we go to images here, we can also see an image that people use to compare Alzheimer's disease with a normal, healthy brain. Now, what causes Alzheimer's, you may say? Well, if we look that up, Alzheimer's disease is thought to be caused by the abnormal buildup of proteins in and around the brain cells. One of the proteins involved is called amyloid, deposits of which form plaques around the brain cells. Now, what is plaques? Well, basically, plaques is these proteins building up into clumps, and those clumps form into other clumps, building plaques. Something that is associated with Alzheimer's disease is dementia, which is hold on. Okay. So dementia is not a specific disease. Dementia is a group of conditions characterized by impairment of at least 2 brain functions, such as memory loss and judgment. Symptoms include forgetfulness, limited social skills, and thinking abilities so impaired that it interferes with daily functioning. Medications and therapies may help manage symptoms. Some causes are reversible. Here's the thing I read it off of. And this has a little, well, not a little, but like this has to do with Alzheimer's too. But dementia is caused by damage to brain cells. This damage interferes with the ability of brain cells to communicate with each other. When brain cells cannot communicate normally, thinking and behavior and feelings can be affected. Now I will read you guys a story of someone who had dementia. So let's do that. Julie Berger. Julie Berger of Vancouver, Washington, hid the initial symptoms of her dementia from her husband Les. For more than 2 years, she had been losing her photographic memory. Slowly but surely, she says. Born in Puerto Rico, Julie speaks 6 languages. Holy crap. Hold on. 6 languages and had been the valedictorian of her high school class. She'd earned a master's degree and served in executive and volunteer roles for the American Red Cross for half a century. All of this academic and professional success had been buoyed by her incredible memory and her voracious appetite for the written word. So her photographic memory started to slip and her rate of reading and level of comprehension dropped. She knew something was wrong. Her husband Les had been an internist, and he says he missed the early signs despite his medical training because she hid her struggles so well. Julie's a smart one in our family, he says. She was able to keep this to herself, and I really wasn't aware of it until she came to me about 4 years ago and said something's wrong. By then, her mathematical abilities had slipped too. Once Les knew there was a problem, they went to see a doctor who diagnosed mild cognitive impairment. A year later, in 2016, Julie, then 76, had an amyloid PET scan that confirmed she had Alzheimer's disease. I'd never heard the word Alzheimer's before, she says, but getting a diagnosis has enabled the Bergers to access treatment and help them prioritize certain aspects of their lives. Julie is still in the early phase of the disease, Les says, and while she retains some cognitive capacity, the couple are busy visiting as many family members and friends they can. She thrives on being with friends and family, and we're taking the time to visit them, mostly locally. The problem is that our world has gotten a lot smaller for both of us since she developed Alzheimer's, he says. Some of the smaller changes Alzheimer's has brought have been the hardest to cope with. Julie does not even remember our wedding. She doesn't remember the names of certain people. That's a lot more livable than the short-term memory problems. Literally, from moment to moment, she puts something down and doesn't know where it is. When we're staying at someone's house, she can't remember where the bathroom is. She can't do finances at all and has no concept of money any longer and has trouble telling time. She can't follow a recipe. She can't make nectar for the hummingbirds anymore. So now that's where I'm going to stop reading that, but I stopped it there to talk about something, and that is how this disease affects people. Now that story told us something, and that's why I wanted to read it. The lifestyle's changed a lot because she couldn't remember anything. Well, she could, but Alzheimer's disease took a toll on her memory, as it does. So now I want to talk about how this disease affects people. And I have, there are a couple main reasons why. Not why, but how this affects people. Not one reason, crap. I can't speak. One way it affects people, especially the person with Alzheimer's, is it's quite a scary thing. Losing your memories, not being able to remember even what you were doing or why you walked into your room or something. And I think that's pretty scary, especially in the later stages where you just become a husk of what you used to be. Husk of yourself without your memories. Another thing is the family members of with the person who has with the person who has Alzheimer's. Some the person knows. Well, person can't remember their family members, and it just takes a toll on them and their family, especially in the later stages of that disease. It's really terrifying stuff. Okay, one last thing. This disease can be caused in two main ways. Number one was the, brain plaques thing. I already talked about that, but I forgot to mention another thing, which is if you have a stroke, it can severely affect your brain and cognitive ability, which can give you dementia. And I think that's pretty freaking terrifying. So yeah. Anyways, let's move on to part 2. Warning before we get into this part, I want to give a warning that some things in this part might be disturbing to some people, so just a heads up. Anyways, stage 2, we're gonna be examining some art forms and artwork surrounding Alzheimer's and dementia, and I'll be explaining it, and I will be I'll be just talking about the art. So without anything to do, let's start off with art number 1. My first example of art will be the artwork of William Utermalin. Now, before we actually take a look at this art, I want to give a little backstory. So William Utermalin is an American painter, and he was born in 1933 and he died in 2007. So I will be reading part of this thing right here just to explain some stuff. Okay, so this dude, he's actually really interesting thing. Anyways, so he was born in South Philadelphia in 1933. He painted a lot of stuff, and overall he was pretty interesting dude. But in 1995, William Utermalin was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And this is why I will be talking about him. For one reason. And that reason is his self-portraits. Now, right now, it might seem like there's nothing out of the ordinary. This is pretty impressive art, but definitely doesn't have to do anything with Alzheimer's, right? And that is why you're wrong. See, this is one of his self-portraits before he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And it's a pretty normal portrait. It's accurate. It shows him what it's just normal portrait, right? Well, let's see. Well, this is his portrait, but when he was diagnosed, he started a series of paintings. This one was a little after he was diagnosed. It's a normal-ish painting. Nothing too out of the ordinary. 1996. As we go into this painting, which was made in 1997, you can obviously see his mental state was deteriorating, and the placement of the facial features and stuff, it's getting more and more deteriorated. This one is even more so, made in 1998, as his dementia progressed. And in 1999, he made this. I don't even know if you can call it a portrait anymore. Oh, hold on. I don't even think you can call that a portrait anymore. I mean, these two are just... It's sad. But it gets even more horrifying. This is his last self-portrait. The last thing that he could... He looked himself in the mirror and he couldn't even tell what he looked like. And this was the result. So scary and sad. I wanted to show this image in particular because it offers the contrast of his earlier work and then his last self-portrait. Just terrifying. William Uchum Mullen's work, it's honestly depressing and sad. Dementia is, as much as I don't like saying this, it's far too common. There was a statistic done, and a lot of these things that used to kill people, it was dropping as cause of death, but Alzheimer's went up. It's far too common. It should have stopped, as it should have never been a thing to literally have to lose your memories like that. If I were told that I had dementia and Alzheimer's, that's where I would end it. But William, I have mad respect for him. Instead of making it the worst, he made something out of it. He made art. Art is something quite beautiful. He made this into a project to see what he would see, basically, in the Alzheimer's. It's quite interesting, but also really sad. Anyways, let's move on to the next art form. If you've been watching my channel for or have seen my videos, you'll recognize this one instantly. And this is one of the best things ever, in my opinion. It's such a good piece of art. Such a good representation of Alzheimer's and dementia and the progression. It's beautiful. It's what art should be. It's such a good piece. I can't even describe it in my words how good it is. This is one of the best things to have ever come out of someone's brain. Which is kind of ironic given the context of this video. What am I talking about? Well, if you guessed the caretakers everywhere at the end of time, then you'd be correct. Some people saw this coming from a mile away. Others didn't really think of it. Well, others didn't expect this at all. But, those who weren't expecting this were probably the ones who never heard of this, which is fine. So what is this? Well, there are two things that I want to cover in the art thing. You can't talk about one without the other. So that's why I'm kind of merging them into one. But I still said there's three things, because there really is three things. So, yeah. Anyways, Everywhere at the End of Time is an album detailing dementia and its progression in the human mind. It's a 6-part series. Each of the installments are 40 to 90 minutes long. This album is also the creator. He took old 1930s and 1950s ballroom music. He took that and he distorted it as each of the stages go on. There's 6 stages. But before I get into the music and play you some clips and stuff, I want to show you the artwork, because I think it has a lot of meaning. So, you've seen the art. So, who exactly made it? Well, this person's name is Ivan Seal. is the caretaker's longtime friend. If you were wondering, the caretaker's real name is James Leland Kirby, but they're both longtime friends, and they're both artists in two different mediums, of course. Ivan Seal's a painter. The caretaker is a music artist. But I wanted to talk about Ivan Seal's art because it's such a good representation of what dementia feels like. I mean, if you take one glance at this art, you'll realize what I mean. The abstract shapes, colors, and everything just feel so odd, but strangely familiar. Like what Alzheimer's disease is. Makes you forget stuff. And, well, yeah. But one of the best examples of Ivan Steele's art capturing the feel of dementia also happens to be one of the covers for Everywhere at the End of Time, Stage 4's cover, precisely. And I'll explain why. Not only is it one of my favorite covers, it also has a lot of meaning behind it. It shows what dementia is. It reminds me of a woman, but vaguely. You can barely tell, only by the shape and, if you could call them, details. It's an abstract person. This, I think, represents the person not even being able to recognize faces and stuff like that. And I think that's quite sad. But that's enough of that. What you're hearing now is the very first song in this album, in Stage 1. It's a song called It's Just a Burning Memory, which is a lyric from one of its samples, from its sample song. It's just a burning memory. Anyway, as you can tell by how it sounds like oldies music. And that's the point. It's supposed to capture that nostalgic feel in an old person and how they would feel. You see, this album is so brilliant because it captures how it is to be an old person experiencing Alzheimer's disease. And I wanted to show you around, explain some stuff, play some clips. So let's do that. was the first song in stage 2. If you couldn't tell, there was a lot different from stage 1. But just in case, let me play a clip from my favorite song in this stage. Now, before I have a meltdown of emotions, let me explain to you why I played those 2 songs. It's to give them contrast and explain some stuff, and have examples to make that more clear. In stage 1, it's basically just oldies music with slight distortions, but gives off an old vibe. There's only 2 songs that I think are worth checking out, with the distortions in stage 1. Of course, I'm not going to explain them because I want you to listen to it because it's definitely worth it. But anyway. And if you remember, that first song definitely had more distortions. There were more crackling, and there was notes out of the place. That's to give off the feel of you progressing in this disease. Stage 1 is just light confusions. Not that much problems. And the music represents that. Well, stage 2, stage 2, it's more distorted. The songs are more sad. And overall, it's more depressing. If you look at the songs, too, they're also pretty depressing and sad. Anyways, let's move on to stage 3. Sorry about that, an ad was playing, but I think I should have chosen a different song with more distortions. So I think that's a good one. This one's a good one. No, I played you a couple songs there just to give more context, but basically stage 3 sounds like an acid trip. Am I right or am I right? Sorry about that. I just wanted to add in some humor because this is actually getting quite dark. Anyway, stage 3 is like just a mess. You're forgetting more, and the music shows that. It's definitely harder to listen to than the first 2 stages. But man, oh man, does it get worse. It gets way worse. If you, there's a lot more reverb, and there's a lot more distortion, and I think it's just sad. Anyway, let's move on to stage 4. Prepare yourself. Okay, let me stop before I give anyone nightmares, but that was stage 4. Now, before I explain some stuff, I want to explain some stuff. This stage and the stages after, they all only have 4 songs, as well the other ones have 10 to 15. Just about that number. Anyway, why is that important? Because I wanted to say something that other people have said. But that's supposed to signify your memories getting clumped together. Your memories becoming a jarbled mess. And if we go to the next song, you'll hear some other things too. One more thing to note before I explain more about this song is all but one are titled Stage 4 Post-Awareness Confusions. More about the one that isn't titled that in a minute. But before I get to that, I wanted to say even more stuff, which is it's just a jarbled mess. Again, you're forgetting more, and it's getting just scary. Now let us show you that mysterious song that isn't titled Post-Awareness Confusion. Now you might be wondering, why does it sound so peaceful? Well, this song is called Stage 4, Temporary Bliss State. And it sounds like that. 21 minutes of bliss. It sounds like heaven. Not. There are some minor confusions, obviously, but overall, it's a state of bliss. It's peaceful, nice, but all nice things must come to an end. As well as stage 4, but screw this stage. Let's go to a different stage. What is this monstrosity? Well, I'll tell you, kind sir. This monstrosity is known as Stage 5. Obviously, it gives me and you night terrors, so I'll stop playing it. But that little clip can tell you something. And that Stage 6 is not going to be good either. Well, not necessarily. More on that. Anyway, Stage 5 was kind of a difficult listen. It's more distorted. To the point where it's like you don't even want to listen to it anymore. I almost called it quitsies. Good thing I didn't, though. More on that later, too. but it's just terrifying to listen to, and just the way it was made is disturbing. Anyway, this stage also gets quite silent towards the end, and it's the last attempt at pure recall till we get to stage 6. Stage 5 was hinting at something else, but as you progress into it, you realize this isn't going to end well. Stage 5. An empty, broken figment of what was Stage 1. And as it fades into Stage 6, you realize it's getting more peaceful and calm. And then your heart breaks even more when you realize the person's memories are gone. There's no going back. All that has been remembered has been remembered. This is the point of no return. This is when all fear gets shrouded in a mist of confusions. But you can't even feel the horror. You're just a blank slate of what you used to be. The music reflects that by basically turning into white noise. But is there a hope? There is no hope. Your brain is too damaged for that. This stage only hints at minor memories. Other than that, it's just noise. But then, as you get closer to the end, you start to hear this. Oh my god, that's heartbreaking. Anyway, I like to think of those last 6 minutes, and yes, that is the last 6 minutes, as two things. One is the more realistic but more depressing thing. The person is at peace, but at what cost? He's gone forever. The only peace is not even existing. My other thing is that could be the angels welcoming him to heaven, which is what I think of it as, because it's more optimistic. But all good things must end, or bad things. I don't know. And the last minute is just pure silence. Anyways, let's have some eye candy to bring us to the light after listening to that depressing stuff. But in all seriousness, that was actually kind of depressing, and I want to end this stage on a high note. Art forms are a great medium for expressing yourself and expressing other things too. Anyways, let's move on to the final stage of this video. Stage 3, my thoughts. Let's focus on the first part first and then the second part. My thoughts on Alzheimer's disease and dementia is that it's freaking terrifying. Imagine you losing your memories. It's horrifying, and it's sad and heartbreaking that people actually have to go through this. And my thoughts on William Utramallen's work is that it's awesome. It's also quite depressing too, and horrifying. And then, for everywhere at the end of time, it will remain the best album ever made. And some of the best music ever. Final words before I end this video is that stay positive and live your life to the fullest and experience as much as you can, and remember as much as you can. Appreciate pictures and videos more. Appreciate life and appreciate the chance that you had to this universe. Appreciate that you were born, and appreciate that you were able to experience and remember things. And remember this one thing, and that is to live life to its fullest and be grateful that you're alive. And with that said, goodbye, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it to this part, I want to say thank you. And make sure to comment something below. Anyways, I think I might need to look at some memes to cool myself down, so yeah. Goodbye.